Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the Red Hot Mic. Let's do it. Welcome, welcome. I know I'm late. But I'm learning. Whatever can go wrong will go wrong. And what we got to do is we gotta, while we're driving it, we got to work on it. That's all to it. I mean, sometimes I get it. I've seen and been on stations, YouTube stations where creator didn't go on for a while. It didn't go on the exact scheduled time. And as a result of that, you get kind of antsy, you get kind of upset. I understand. Stuff happens. And I'm going, and then all of a sudden, everything crashed. And had to start all over again, and it wasn't easy. But we're here. And you learn how to be persistent, determined, and you keep going, right? Yeah. Being determined, not quitting, not giving up, and that's what tonight has shown me. Well, again, my co-host Ellie Lamar, he holds my hats. He fights about it sometimes because I think he likes me wearing my hats more than I do. But here we go. It's time to get busy. It's time to get going. Come on in this house. Come on in. It's that time. Welcome to the Red Hot Mic. I am your host, G. Alfred Palmer, and here's a toast to you and to all you are and all you will be. Let's try it again. Let's try this. Well, welcome. I'm glad you're with me on this auspicious occasion for tuning in. I'm sure there's other things you could be doing, but you're here with me, and I appreciate it. Again, welcome to the Red Hot Mic, where we're going to ruminate, elevate, and activate what we're doing here. What we're talking, and I want to thank you for just coming in. Now I'm going to ask you to do one more solid, and that is to share, to like, and to subscribe. Subscribe to the channel. Please, I need you to the channel. I can't do it without you. I need you to help me. So please, subscribe, like, share, and hit that notification bell. Come on. Let's do it. Let's do it.
In our current global climate, we're facing challenges never before experienced by this generation. Opposition. In our current global climate, we're facing challenges never before experienced by this generation. Oppositions where no one seems to have clear directions or answers to the risks facing us. Confrontations like racial and gender unrest, political gerrymandering, toxic leadership, economic crisis, global pandemic, health threats, pre-existing medical conditions, isolation, boredom, and loneliness are driving people to desperation. As a result, people are confused, afraid, anxious, and perplexed, and they need answers to some tough questions and even tougher situations. They are looking into different outlets for answers to gain assurance and consolation. Some have drawn closer to the embrace of family, while others look more towards their friendships, education, and even religion. What we need is a fresh voice of truth and clarity, and not a stale religious echo from the past. There's a re-emerging voice on the horizon that isn't afraid to stand alone and give spiritual and mentally sound direction to a world searching for answers. G. Alfred Palmer offers a voice of sound human development and empowerment to those willing to hear. There's a need for new ideas to old principles, a perspective from a timeless origin, but with current vision, a thought leader who understands what it means to stand alone and speak truth when some are hard of hearing. But if you've been waiting to hear a voice that opens the gates of freedom and breaks the shackles of confusion to allow you to step forward into the dawning of a new and exciting future, then it's time to bridge the gap with Dr. G. Alfred Palmer. He is a dynamic speaker, thought leader, and entrepreneur, equipped to elevate, expand, and extend the development, empowerment, and leadership of his audiences. He stands ready to speak at your next event. His delivery is guaranteed to refresh, entertain, and transform. G. Alfred Palmer bridges the gap from uncertainty to the purpose, the passion, and leadership. Book him today for your next event, and you won't be disappointed.
All right. Come on in here. Mr. Red Hot Mike. It's time to get busy. And once again, I want to thank you for joining me for this edition of the Red Hot Mike. And again, you know what we come to do. We come to ruminate, elevate, and to activate. And as we do that, we grow. As we do that, we learn, we expand, and we elevate. All right. So I'm going to try to keep this out of my eye so you can, because it gets. Let's see if we can get rid of it. And then you can. But that's dark skinned brothers. But that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and turn it off. How about that? All right. So, all right, here we go. I want to talk a little bit first before we get started. I want to it was called A Son Needs a Father. And I talked about the situation that Kirk Franklin is facing with his son, Kerrion, and that Kerrion has been arrested and is incarcerated like a homicide. And I talked about the relationship, the importance of the relationship between a father and his son. And in doing that, that I was talking down to on Kerrion and Kurt, when in all actuality, those people are our examples. Those are the ones that the creation and the creator has given us as object lessons on how we can improve and how we live our lives. It's not a put down, and it's not to disparage them in any way. It's just for us to learn, because just like with Carry On and Kirk, there's issues ourselves. That's why we're looking to ruminate. That's why we're looking to elevate, and that's why we're looking to activate, so we can change some of the things that we're going through and begin to do some things differently. Now, I want to focus in on masculine energy. I want to focus in on the direction that the creator and creationists would say that I need to go in because of what's going on, and to speak to and talk to the whole idea of masculinity. And when I talked about the whole idea that a father that was speaking to and about masculine energy. So that's important. It's important that you understand that we address issues, and we're not just here to entertain. We're not here to just entertain. I enjoy as much as anyone else, but that's not what we're here for. We're here because we have to share, and we have to enlighten, and we have to encourage one another on how to grow, how to elevate, how to expand, and how to extend. I might. Now, tonight I want to talk about something. Well, just before I do, I want to just touch on again what we talked about in our last session. We talked about the importance of us as fathers, and as a mold, mentor, manage, and motivate. Those are the steps of the father's role in the different age periods of their son. I'll say them again. It's to model, it's to mold, it's to mentor, it's to manage. We've got to do those kinds of things. And if you want to hear me go into that more in depth, my last broadcast went more in depth into those concepts. And I just wanted to mention them because I think that, again, they're so important when we speak about the masculine energy. Okay, so I'm going to speak about that same energy tonight, but in a different manner. I'm speaking to men. I'm speaking to males, and I'm speaking to boys. And the reason for that is that the greater responsibility falls on us, whether we like it or not. There's a reason why you have the broad shoulders. There's a reason why you have the strong feet, the calves, the big feet, the big hold to stand, to withstand hard times, trials, tribulations, difficult times. And it's our responsibility to endure. And so I want to speak to energy holders, vessels, receptacles, if you would. It's our responsibility to rightly implement the masculine energy, and we can only rightly implement it if we understand. That's what's important about this particular session, is for us to be able to rightly implement the masculine energy. Now, I'm a firm believer that you know, faith comes by hearing and hearing. It doesn't just come overnight. You don't hear one time and expect that it's going to stick. It's not. You each time you hear it, you're more likely to get more and more each time. If you're really hearing, not just listening. The difference between listening and hearing. You want to hear. Okay, so it's important that when we hear for substance. We hear for meaning. We hear for how we can implement and activate things in our own lives. We might implement what we hear in our lives to change that which will cause us to be more and more of what we're supposed to be. So this particular broadcast is going to address very, very, very important. It's very, very important. Tonight we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, and we're on YouTube. So you'll be able to catch this broadcast on any of those 3-4 different platforms. So please share it with someone. This is a very important lesson, and I want to talk about the idea of male versus can gain a better understanding of the difference. Now, when we're born, it's important to understand that everyone is born with 3 parts, and I remember in seminary they would call it tripartite. It means 3 parts. 3 parts: spirit, soul, and body. And what we have to understand is, I hear people talk about, getting a new spirit and renewing their spirit and revitalizing their spirit, and all these doesn't need to be rejuvenated. That's not what needs to happen with us. It's not about spirit being rejuvenated or being re-energized. Spirit doesn't have to be re-energized. What needs to be really dealt with is the second and third part, and that's the soul and the body. And I would dare say one affects the other very much so. And it becomes important for us to understand the importance of understanding how those things work together. But when we talk about spirit, what we're talking about is essence. We're talking about the God part of you, the creator part of you, the essence part of you that has come, that has this sphere inside of a suit. Now, what you've got to understand is this: once this time ends here, we'll put down this suit, because this suit that we're wearing is dirt. Everything that it comes from, everything that comes from a thing feeds off of a thing. For instance, our bodies feed off of the food we eat, but the food we eat is dirt. It's dirt we eat came from dirt. And our body is dirt. And we wash this dirt to get off the loose dirt. But there's nothing left but dirt because that's what the physical body is. And because once we lay down, we go back to where we were before we were born. And I say this to people: you need to know there's nothing to fear in death. There's nothing to fear in death, because in death, you are returning to the place where you were before you were born. Now, can you? No, because you did not exist. So when you leave here and put down this physical body, you will go back to where you were, and you will cease to exist. But the essence part of you, the life source or the life resource that's been delegated to the source, it's important that we understand this. There's nothing to fear in death. But that's why this time that we have here is so precious and important, because there's some things that we're supposed to be doing here. And what we're supposed to be doing here is to implement, to form and bring into fruition our individual purpose. That's what you're here to do. You're not here to have I get it. I like having a good time. I like good food. I like good restaurants. I like good shows. I enjoyed all those things. One iota of intention and focus of what I'm here to do. And everywhere I go, I'm doing something, whether it's talking to someone or encouraging someone in the area of purpose, because that's what I'm here to do. Life, but you need to enjoy life in fulfilling purpose. And what we do on my other channel is called The Purpose Sphere. And we talk more in depth about finding, focusing, forming, and bringing into fruition purpose. You need to get to that. And here's send you some literature, and I want to give you a free survey that's going to help you on your road toward understanding purpose. So go over to the Purpose Sphere. Also, check us out on gapalmer.com at our website materials, and you can also give us some contact information. So now, once again, we can begin to get in touch with you and share some things with you relative to how you can find your individual purpose. Because there's three types of people. One that says, I know my purpose. One says, I think I know my purpose. And another, what we're doing on the other station. That's not what we're doing here. That's a commercial, really. But tonight I want to talk about the difference between malehood and manhood. Now, understanding this, when we're born, we do have a spirit, soul, and body. But when we're born, spirit, soul, and body, and clothed either one of two binary energies, and that's masculine or feminine. The masculine and feminine, and that masculine and that this tripartite will also be designed to represent that we have been assigned. So what we've got to understand is the body you have was assigned to you. Whether you like it or not, there's a lot of things we don't like. But what we need to learn how to do is to embrace and implement what it is that we've been given. Because so many people fail to see what they've been given. They're too busy focusing on what they're not as opposed to what they are. Because what they are is very intentional, very, very intentional. There's a reason why. And until we can get that into our minds, we'll continue to have cognitive dissonance. Okay. Once we have to continue to build, we have to continue to build. And if we do that, we can change our community, culture, and clan, and we can shape it to what it was meant to be. And that is for us as humans and humanity is to have dominion in this sphere we call Earth. But in order to do that, we've got to under our stations. There are places in which we have to understand where we are in our life cycle and understand what we should be doing within that life cycle, how we are to develop so that we can next matriculate to the next cycle, gain there, and then go to the next. So it's important that we understand that in a boy's life, which is what we talked about the last session, in a boy's life, his father plays a critical. So many grew up without fathers. So many have not been a father to their sons. It's never too late. It's never too late. But there have to be a receptivity to your being willing to do whatever. If your son is not willing, then you can't do anything about that. What you can do then is go and you can begin to sow into someone else's son. That's what you do, okay? But you just don't throw up your hands and give up. Okay, so of malehood and manhood. Okay, now we were talking about the last session. We were talking about boyhood being between the ages of, well, between the ages of 5 and 12. Before that, he's a boy, but he's a baby then. So that's the first stage: baby, boy, male, and then man. But so we're not talking about the baby part. We're talking about the boy part, and the boy part is from about 5. And the keys there is, here's what's important that you've got to understand. Boys learn about the idea of winning. Winning becomes important to a boy, whether it's running, whether it's eating. They want to be first. They want to be first. Lose. They don't want to lose. Losing brings bad feelings. It brings the wrong type of recognition. It doesn't bring celebration. And so a boy in that age between 5 and of winning. Now here's the problem. So often we look at that need and that desire for winning, and so many times, especially in our school systems, we get teachers who want to abate and try to crush that I win. But that need to win is a masculine part of his being. He's supposed to want to win. And if you have feminine teachers who are teaching him not to win, or that everyone gets a trophy, the idea and the drive to win. And a drive to win is something that will resonate forever in his life if it's not crushed. Having a boy who gets on will not try hard. He will not give his best effort, because everybody gets a trophy, because it's about not feeling bad. No, you need to feel bad. You need to feel bad. Failed. You need to feel like you didn't make the mark. Why? Why is that? Because now you'll go back and you'll work harder so that when you come back the next time, you'll give better effort and different outcome. So, ladies, don't crush your son's sense of wanting to win. Now, here's what it may look like to you sometimes. It may look like it's disobedience. It may look like to you rebellion. But what he's doing is to understand how he can win. You want your son to win. Now, what you can do is explain, and see, this is the important part of the father. It's important that you explain to him how he's going about it, going to win, but it's the way you have to win. It's the way, and so you have to go about winning in a certain form of fashion. And the only one that can really relate that to him is his father. Why? Because they're designed the same. And the mother. That's why you need both parents. Now, I'm not saying that a boy does not need his mother. He does. But a boy needs his father. Look around you and look at our cultures and our communities and our clans and masculine energy. And what is the result of it? It's not a good thing. Okay. So what we're seeing as we're seeing less masculinity, more femininity within our males and our boys. And why is that? Why? The fathers weren't in their home. And if they were in the home, they weren't on their job. They didn't teach. Well, let me put it this way. They did not discipline. They did not disciple, right? Their child. They didn't. Boys do this. Boys don't do that. Boys wear this. Boys don't wear that. Boys play. And then I hear people say, well, no, I want my child to have the freedom to be whatever they want to be. A child has no, they are a blank slate. They need to be taught. It's called parenting. And they need to be taught what is appropriate and what is inappropriate for their particular gender energy. But that can't be taught by a cross. All the time, I had no father, but my mother taught me how. And she can't teach you everything there is to be about a man, no more than a father can teach his daughter about how to be a woman. It's not possible. You're not built that way. You're not built that way, spirit, soul, or body. You don't have it. You need to get the energy, and you need to get the discipline and the discipleship from that which is of like kind, because everything that produces after its own kind. So if you're a masculine man, you will produce, and if you don't, then you get what you've gotten because you haven't done what you were supposed to do. Now I know some men they're not going to like that because of what happened as a result in their families. But that's the truth. Fault. It's your fault, parent. You didn't do what you were supposed to do. Now somebody's not going to like that. I know. It's hard. It's a hard pill to swallow, but it's the truth. So when we a boy transitioning to malehood, now let's look at some things. When we look at malehood, well, let me briefly go through boyhood again, because early boyhood is between 5 and 10 important. They don't like to lose. Right and wrong becomes important, and they'll stand up and say that's not right because the idea of right and wrong becomes important. In middle boyhood, between the ages of 13 and 18, what becomes important is physical development, and what really becomes a very important element is the equation of power plus force equals strength. So those three elements become very important to him. Power, strength, force. They become important. He uses force on the athletic field. He uses force in the hallway, or in the school. He uses power. He recognizes strength, and he recognizes these enable him to get what he wants. And as a result of that, he has a tendency to use them, whether correctly or incorrectly. He does use them. The third phase of boyhood is the late stage, which is between 19 and 21. And in this time, he becomes very competitive and independent. These are the three phases within boyhood. Okay, so let's look at malehood. A male is a over, under, or underdeveloped, or a under or undeveloped individual who's housing masculine energy and DNA. And so here's what we need to know about a male. A male is a boy who has next stage of his development. He is not a man. Now here's what we understand and see about him. Whereas he began to become physically grow, in last phase, more and more cunning about using that which he has developed, whether that is height, weight, whatever. He uses those things, those tools that he has to his advantage, that he can use to his advantage, whatever those are. We need to understand about the male. First of all, there's three types. Okay, there's three types of males. Okay, and when we look at the male, there is an early, and there is a middle, and there is a late. And here, and I'm going to tell you some things about that. Early malehood is between the ages of 22 and 25, and his focus is control. His focus is control, and he'll do whatever he has to do to control the situation, individuals, his job, whatever he does is whatever that's at his disposal in order for him to control what's surrounding. Next, he in the middle stage of malehood is between the ages of 51 and 60. Understand this. This could be malehood, but it doesn't necessarily have to maintain in malehood, because some of these same things that we've got to understand is that manhood brings about the same kinds of things. Let me back up. Early malehood is from 22 to 25, controls the issue. Middle stage of malehood is 26 to 30, and the competitiveness is the focus. He competes about everything. Okay, you know that you're competitive. Promotion. You compete in your cars, driving, right? You compete on your motorcycle. You compete on everything, the way you dress. You compete. And then the late male stage is between 30 to 40. And that is achievement-based, achievement-focused, where he focuses all on achievement, getting that top dollar, that top-paying job, that award, that position achievement-focused. Now, it's important to understand that when we look at malehood, there's also three things that we need to mention. There are, and I said it, and I'm gonna say it again. Let me read it to you again. Under or undeveloped, okay, but housed in masculine essence and DNA. Now, I hear a lot of people talk about alpha male. But alpha male is a overdeveloped male. It's not a man. It's an overdeveloped male. Somewhere, somehow, he was managed the wrong way. He was mentored or molded or modeled in a way that really emphasized this super macho, chauvinistic kinds of masculinity. And as a result of that, he doesn't develop into a man. He is still a male, and he's grown, but yet he's still a male. He's not a man. And you wonder why your relationships don't work, because you're in a relationship with a male. And if you're a female and you're in a relationship with a male, forget it. It won't work. And it'll be very combative, it will be challenging. It won't if it's a female and a male. Look at what's happening in the area of marriage and relationship now. What we have are males and females, and as a result of that, we have a lack of culturation. We have a lack of communion, and it's because we have not developed. We are overdeveloped, especially when we start talking about let's talk about the other extreme of that, the beta male. The beta male is just as undeveloped, but actually underdeveloped, whereas the other is overdeveloped. The beta male is underdeveloped masculine frame, his masculine mentality, his masculine energy, and so he may have been raised in a single parent home where there hasn't been masculine energy. I don't care how much you reared in a single parent home, if you didn't have a masculine role model, you are missing some very critical stuff. Whether you like that thought or not, you accept it or not, you have. And I would challenge you to look at that. You're a bad guy or anything, saying you're missing some important stuff. Okay, so when we talk about the beta male acts more and thinks more feminine than he does masculine. And the reason for that is because most of them were raised by feminine energy, and that feminine energy superseded, put down, and emasculated masculine energy. And as a result of that, he was not able to develop masculinely. And as a result, he thinks not in a woman, but as a female more than he does as a male. And as a result of that, he'll speak against his own best interests. When they hear a man speak, they will be the ones that will be more vehemently against the man than he will even to the point of being willing to be violent against that which is against his own, that is vying for his best interests. He would rather fight against his own best interests. That shows you how he has. Okay, so, and I'm not saying anything about anyone. I'm not naming you and pointing you out because I don't know you. So what I'm speaking to is a mindset and a mentality. I'm talking about a developmental phase, about you as a specific individual. I don't know you. You're not. This is over the internet. So I'm not. I don't know you. So I'm not speaking to you. But spirit could be speaking to you, and if that's the case, I have no. It's not me because I don't know you. Understand that? Okay. So the alpha, you have the alpha, the beta, and then in the middle, so many people talk about the metrosexual male. He too is a male who practices. And some people say, well, he's the one that I want. He's the one that, no, you don't. You don't want a male because still he's not developed properly. He's still not developed properly because he still has not matriculated in manhood. Metrosexual male is the cat's meow. You may think he's perfect, but eventually, the inconsistency, the incongruency, eventually experience will come to play, and you'll see it. And he will have conflict, cognitive dissonance of both beta and alpha. He'll be confused. Okay. All right. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the malehood stage, because it's very, very important that we gain a better understanding of what that looks like. Now, when we move to the next phase, now what allows us to move from malehood to manhood? Okay, it's balance, it's maturity, right? its development. So a man will develop, a male can develop into manhood, but it takes the implementation of some of the things that I'm getting ready to mention to do this. Now, all these stages that I'm going to get ready to mention are still play a role in the other phase stages as well. Certain aspects of it, you know. So, and I talked about that in my last video. So I'm not going to go. I'm going to say this particular phase of life, when we start talking about manhood, manhood implements all eight elements that help a man to a man and operate and function in this phase successfully. And but the other two stages, they have pieces of these elements, but not all of them. But in manhood, they're all operational because he's fully developed in all these areas. So let's first look at manhood. Manhood begins at the age of about 41 to about 50. That's early manhood. 50 and 60. And late manhood is between 61 and 75. Now, after that, after manhood comes eldership. And that goes into becoming older, and we'll talk about that in another time, because I want the idea of male versus man out there because it's important. So what we see is when a man enters early manhood between the ages of 41 and 50, what becomes important to him is family. He wants children. He wants his own children. He doesn't want to raise other children. Now, some people don't like the idea of me saying that, but it's the truth. If you find a man that wants to raise children, there's something wrong with him. That's not a man. Now, I know that may sound cold. That may sound callous, but a man does not want to raise another man's children. It's not saying he won't. I'm saying he doesn't want that. He's not his idea. That is not his picture. Not a man. Men don't think that way. They look to have their own. Okay? So family becomes important. Family becomes important. And here's what girls mature and continue to age quicker than men. That's why men can continue to have children later in their life and women can't, because she ages before us. And so it's important that you understand that. Now, why did I say that? Excuse me. The reason why I said it is because what we've got to understand as men, is that we have a longer duration here. And there's a reason for that. That reason is for purpose. That reason is for us to continue to do what she's to help us. That's why she's called a help meet for what you're supposed to be doing as a purposeful entity. You're to live, but what we're experiencing is in our community culture and clan is age quicker than us. What's happening? Well, I've said it time and time again. We're not in purpose. Purpose will sustain your life. Purpose will lengthen your life. Purpose will do and have and operate in purpose, and we're doing work. See, here's the difference. Instead of doing work, we're doing jobs. And we're doing jobs because we want money. That's the idea, to get money. We're not doing it for purpose. See, what you fail to realize is purpose is going to get the money. provisions necessary for you to fulfill purpose. And purpose will cause you to live a life that you never even imagined, but you've got to find purpose. You've got to find purpose, gentlemen. But if you're going to continue to find jobs to wear your body out, because what you're doing is you're using what anytime you misuse something, you are abusing it. And when you abuse it, that means you are abnormally using it. So when you're abnormally using your body, and it's not you're not doing it because purpose is your work, but you're doing a job for a paycheck, eventually that's not going to work. That's not going to work. And eventually your body will wear out because you're not operating, you're misusing it, you're abusing your body. And you're not using it for what it was intended. See, because your body, your design is innately connected to your purpose. But some of us, we're afraid to fulfill purpose because we're not sure what it is. That's why you need to be on my other channel on Purpose Sphere, because Purpose Sphere will show you how to find your purpose. Now, I hear people tell you about purpose, but they don't show you how to find it. I hear people say you can find your purpose in 5 minutes. I don't know about that one. I always use an example. My example is a biblical narrative. And the biblical narrative, my role model it took him 30 years. It took him 30 years. And I know someone else that took 75 years. I mean, I don't know anyone that came out and knew their purpose right away. And so if you think you can know your purpose, fine. I'm not here to debate any of that. You've got to find purpose if you want long life. Find yourself doing what you're supposed to be doing. Okay. Now, so we're talking about manhood. And in early manhood, between 41 and 50, he's looking for a family. He wants a family. Some even before that. But I would say this to you, gentlemen. What you should do is wait till you're 40. You should work on purpose, getting yourself established, and working. At 40, you can still have, you can have 30 years of making more kids, 30, 35 more years. So, I mean, that's plenty of time. What many of us do is we marry too early. We marry too early, and we don't head to the table because we don't know what purpose is. If you're going to bring anything to the table, it's got to be purpose. And if you don't know what purpose is, what you're bringing is a job or business. And with that comes the instability of that job and that business. But it's the reason why you were born. There's no one like you. No one else can do that. But you got to find out what it is. Okay, so when we look at the middle stage of manhood between the ages of 50, important to the man is legacy. Legacy. Now, first it was family. Now it's legacy. Legacy means he wants to leave something behind for his children. He wants something that's going to be sustained after him. He wants something that's going to live past his living. He wants to leave a mark. Now, mark where it may be familiar or family. It may be inside of his purpose and what that looks like. He's got legacy. He's looking for legacy. He's looking to fulfill legacy. Now, late stage, again, I talked about it, 61 to 75. You still can have children. A woman cannot at that age, but a man can. He can still have children. He can still build a legacy, a family at that advanced age. But what he's looking for, what becomes important to him in this phase, understand what I'm saying. Retirement is not retirement. Okay. He has to change how he does things. See, what we do is we look into to retire and just go travel and do just, you're really cutting off yourself from some productive time that you could be using. If you retire, you may not get paid, but you still do your work. You find a way to do your work. Even though you're not getting, I dare say this, you'll still get paid. You get paid in a way that you never imagined. So I don't even like using the word retirement, because you really don't retire from purpose. You really don't. You really don't retire from purpose. You transition, okay? All right, so I talked about the important elements of manhood that causes him to be able to, whereas in the other stages of boyhood and malehood, he uses elements, some of the elements, but in manhood, he uses all of them. Now, I've talked about this before, and you've heard me talk about it before, the 8 elements of human development, which is physiological, which is physical, the build, and physiology, right? Say that 3 times. Physiology. So it's important that you understand that the physical body has to be taken care of. Gentlemen, you have to take care of yourself. You have to take care of yourself. A man takes physically. He's not overweight or underweight. I'm of this opinion. If you can't lift your wife over the threshold, you're not supposed to get married. If you can't carry her across the threshold, you should not be getting married. You're weak. You're not fit. You're not able to sustain her, because she's going to lean on you. She's going to depend on you. And if she can't, then there's going to be problems. Believe me, there will be problems. But if you can lift her, carry her, huh? Yeah, you should be able to do that. But you need to be physically fit. You need to be, especially in this day now, in our chronological is the second phase, or the second element. And that is talking about with aging, and age appropriateness. So what we've got to learn is what is appropriate for our age, how we are aging. Somebody say black don't crack. Well, I'm seeing more and more that not being so. And that's because we're not age appropriate. We have some people that are trying to be younger than they are, competing with their daughters and competing with their sons. You can't do that. Embrace where you are, and be thankful, because many people haven't made it to the place where you are. The place where you are. So with that in mind, you have to be very, very appreciative and grateful. Number 3, emotional development, which is talking about our feelings, our appetites, and our desires. Important. Women are more, they are logical, but they are created to operate more from the emotional perspective. Why? It's important. Emotions are important. 2 of you to become one. One of you going to be more logical, the other is more Emotional. That's logical. Doesn't mean that the logical one's not emotional. It just means that they're where they first come from is from that particular paradigm. A man is logical. That's the intellectual development. And the woman is more, meaning they don't have elements, those other elements. They do, they have to, because that's part of the development process. But to understand where they come from a very innate perspective is he's going to be logical, she's going to be emotional. And the emotional it talks about the feelings, the appetites, and the desires. Okay, she's going to want things. She's going to want. Men don't want. We're satisfied with whatever. She's going to feel. Okay? And you will too. Next is psychological development, which talks about behavioral makeup and behaviorism. How you behave. The psyche. Psychology. What are the paradigms that okay? The development of those things are very, very critical. It's because of the lack of behaviorism that children misbehave. I was one of those children that misbehaved in school as a boy. I was bad. of the lack of psychological development. And so they did some things to help me in the schools. Okay. Number five is intellectual. We just talked about that a little bit. Intellectual is the problem solving, the scrutiny of things. Men are very, very problem solving centered. That can be a problem sometimes because you want to solve every problem, and not all problems are for you to solve. Not all of them. Not all. They're to be scrutinized, right? They are to be scrutinized. They are to be examined, but not solved all the time. Sometimes you just need, because there's opportunity for growth for other people, and for you to not try to solve problems all the time. Important. Number 6 developmental phase element is the philosophical, which is rational, thoughtfulness, and logical. Okay. Philosophical thinking helps us to see things from a broader perspective. We should be able to see things from a broader perspective. Why? Because as men, you have to have a visionary mentality. And to have a visionary mentality means that you have to have a broad, sweeping, philosophical idea of the landscape. You should have some idea, whether good, bad, right, or wrong, you need to have some kind of idea relative to the landscape, what's going on around you socially, politically, economically. Good, bad, right or wrong, you need to have. Number 7, mental. A mental development is another element. And that is talking about the cerebral, right? The correct and healthy thinking. It's important that we have theoretical thinking, we have cerebral thinking, and we have correct and healthy thinking. This is the mental aspect. This is the mental development phase or element. We got to be able to think 2 + 2. That's mental. Okay. And lastly is cognitive. Cognitive is reason, processing, and analyzing. It's sort of almost like mental, but even to a further degree. Whereas mental is more broad stroked, the cognitive goes into a lot more deep. Analyzing things, the pros and the cons, comparing and contrasting. Okay, so tonight we talked a little bit about, just a little bit about male versus man. And it's important because of what we're seeing. We're seeing males passing off themselves as men, and they're not. They need to be able to develop and understand why you're not. And it's not your fault. It's not your fault, and I'm not talking down to you. I'm just saying you didn't develop in certain ways. Well, that everybody's got places to grow in. Everybody's got places to grow. And say that you're less than. What it is saying is that you're not finished developing yet. You're not finished developing yet. And to do that, I'm telling you, you have to find some folks who are already because what we talked about in when we start talking about the elements, we talked about the idea of modeling, mentoring, managing, and motivating. Okay. And it's the mentoring. And the mentoring is an important phase because it's that age between 5 and 12 years old. Between 5 and 12 years old, those are very important processes that he begins to work on or work through. And you need an area where intellect, you get the physicality or the physiology and the emotional. So those three become very important aspects of growth, and you need a mentor to help you to go through those and how to navigate those particular areas. And so even now, even though you're grown, you still need someone to help you go navigate through those particular areas or those particular elements. So it becomes important to find a mentor, someone who has already gone through that can help you so that you can be all that you can be. Okay? Well, that's it. Another session of the Red Hot Mic, and where we talked about males versus men, how we are to develop from malehood to manhood. Well, this is Dr. G. Alfred Palmer. Thank you for one more, thanking you again for being with me. And here's again a toast to you, to all that you are and all that you're becoming.